During breakfast on Wednesday morning, Maria introduced another piece to the puzzle that James had been grappling with for over a week. "Tyler is going to call you today," Maria informed James nonchalantly. This took James by surprise, prompting him to think, "Why is he calling me?" Maria, noticing his confusion, clarified, "Because he wants to talk to you and make sure you're okay with us having dinner together." "Why?" James asked, astonished. "What do you mean?" "Why?" Maria responded. "Why does he want to speak with me? You've already told him you're going, and you've told me the same, so it's decided. You're going to dinner with him. Why the need for this call now?" James was frustrated. "Is this because he's a gentleman who wants to do things properly? Now he's going to ask my permission to date my wife, and that makes him a gentleman?" he asked sarcastically. Maria, now visibly irritated, replied, "James, I've told you 100 times, this dinner is not a date. It's just a dinner with a man I'm collaborating with on the city's climate change initiative. That's all it is, nothing more. Stop making it out to be something it's not." She almost shouted, but held herself back. All right, I get it," James shot back. "But what if I say no?" Maria's eyes narrowed sharply as she looked at him. "What do you mean? What if you say no?" "I mean, when Tyler calls and asks for my blessing to take you to dinner, what if I say no?" James explained, his tone serious. Clearly irritated, Maria responded, "First of all, he's not going to ask you for permission. Secondly, we're both adults, and we don't need your approval. This is just a courtesy, James. He just wants to check that you're comfortable with us having this business dinner." "And what if I still say no?" James interrupted. Maria sighed. "James, I know you too well. You're not going to say no. You're going to be polite, the gentleman you always are, and tell him you're fine with us having dinner. So stop trying to provoke me. Just talk to him nicely. Be that cultured, sophisticated man I know you are. And put him and yourself at ease with this dinner. Okay?" she finished. James didn't like the situation at all, but he knew he had little choice. It didn't take him long to realize his role in this puzzle to support his wife's dinner meeting with Tyler Carter. He'd speak with Tyler, hear him out, and see what he could learn. Tyler Carter wasn't just anyone. He was a globally renowned expert on climate change, with numerous papers and at least 6 books published on the topic. He had lectured at major universities in the US, UK, and Europe, and frequently appeared on CNN, Fox News, BBC, and other networks. His social media blog boasted nearly 1 million subscribers, and he had testified before both Senate and House committees on climate change. In short, Tyler was a high-profile figure in the climate change arena. What made the dinner puzzling to James was that Maria had initially said she would be dining with her entire climate change strategy team. But over a few days she changed her story, saying it would be just a few members from the team. And then, last week, she told James it would be only Tyler. According to her, they needed time alone to discuss ideas and strategies before presenting them to the team. The shifting details made James suspicious, and now with Tyler's impending call to make sure he was okay with the dinner, James grew even more suspicious. Still, he had no option but to go along. "Fine," James said at last. "Tell him to give me a call. If I don't pick up, he can leave a message, and I'll get back to him." James informed Maria that he was too busy to engage in back-and-forth phone calls, asking her to answer and talk directly. Maria responded by reminding him, slightly frustrated, that she too was busy, especially with preparations for her upcoming 4-week trip to India. Although both acknowledged their hectic schedules, James insisted that she take the call, assuring her it would help ease any tension regarding the dinner planned for Friday night. Maria reluctantly agreed, promising to answer when Tyler called. After that brief and awkward moment, their conversation shifted from the dinner to their usual daily plans, and they soon parted ways. James, however, spent the rest of the day anticipating Tyler's call, which finally came in just before 4 p.m. The two men exchanged polite words, with James making it clear he had no objections to Tyler taking Maria out for dinner. Tyler, for his part, assured James in a somewhat roundabout way that it was strictly a business dinner. He mentioned that he would pick Maria up at 6, they'd dine at a high-end restaurant, and she would be home by 10 p.m. at the latest. Though everything seemed perfectly above board, James couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the situation. In fact, the conversation left him even more uneasy, convinced that something wasn't right between Maria and Tyler. The rest of Wednesday and all of Thursday passed uneventfully, without any further mention of the dinner. Everything appeared normal between James and Maria, but James's lingering doubts only grew stronger. His suspicions became so loud in his mind that by Friday morning he was already wide awake, sitting at his desk with his second cup of coffee. The day he had been dreading had arrived, and he was struggling internally with the idea of Maria's dinner with Tyler. Despite knowing that voicing his protest would be pointless, he couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with suspicion. At around 9 a.m., Maria came into James's office to let him know she was heading out to get her hair and nails done. Before he could say a word, she was already gone. James tried to focus on his work, but his thoughts kept drifting back to Maria and the fact that she was getting all dolled up, supposedly just for him. Several hours later, Maria returned from the salon, looking stunning with her new hairstyle and bold red nails. She quickly stopped by James's office for his opinion before hurrying upstairs to their bedroom to continue preparing for the evening. As the afternoon wore on, it became increasingly clear to James that Maria was dressing up for Tyler, and this only fueled his suspicions about the true nature of their dinner. By 5:30 p.m., James left his office and went to the living room to await Tyler's arrival. As he stood there, he mentally rehearsed how he would act and what he would say when Tyler arrived, as well as how to handle the moment when they left together. Around 5:50 p.m., James heard a car pulling into the driveway. Struggling with the dread of the situation, he watched as Tyler stepped out of his car. Rather than immediately answering the door, James let Tyler ring the doorbell and knock a couple of times before opening it and inviting him in. The tension was palpable as the two men greeted each other politely, both fully aware of the awkwardness of the situation. James couldn't ignore the fact that, in his mind, Tyler was about to take his wife on what felt like a date, and there was nothing he could do to stop it without causing a scene. Though fully capable of such a confrontation, James held back, maintaining his composure. Tyler was simply eager to pick up Maria and leave, while James just wanted to get through the moment without any drama. They exchanged pleasantries, but James, still unsettled, didn't invite Tyler to sit down. Instead, he left him standing at the door while he went upstairs to fetch Maria. "Your date is here," James said as he entered the bedroom. Maria, still adjusting her look, asked, "Do I look okay?" Her hair, meticulously styled, framed her face perfectly, and her long blonde locks shimmered as they cascaded over her shoulders. James took a moment, his eyes lingering on her, and then asked, "Is that a new dress?" Maria sighed and admitted, "Yes, and the shoes too." "James, this is the new outfit I bought to wear when we go out, and I thought I'd try it on tonight just to see how I feel in it," Maria explained before asking, "How do I look?" "You honestly look like you're heading out on a hot date," James replied. "I just want to look good," Maria responded. "You do look good, but you also look pretty hot," James added. Maria didn't comment, so James paused, then asked, "Is that what you're aiming for? To look hot for this guy?" With a calculated tone, James spoke, and Maria quickly clarified, "No, that's not my goal. I just want to look nice." "You look nice, but you also look like you're dressed to seduce," James noted. "We're just two business associates going to dinner. It's nothing more, and I simply want to look good." "Get your mind out of the gutter," Maria retorted. "Well, he's waiting for you, so go ahead. I'll walk you downstairs like I'm your father sending you off to meet a date," James teased. "Stop it, James. This is not a date. Quit behaving like that," Maria scolded as they descended the stairs. As Maria reached the foyer, Tyler exclaimed, "Wow, Maria, you look stunning." Maria walked downstairs, while James remained on the steps, silently watching. "Thank you, Tyler. You're looking sharp yourself," Maria replied, giving him a friendly hug that James found inappropriate between colleagues. But what did he know? He wasn't part of this climate change culture, as he sarcastically thought. Catching the hug between the two, James made his way down the stairs. After a few moments of small talk, the trio headed to Tyler's car. Being a gentleman, Tyler opened the car door for Maria, who slid into the passenger seat, revealing quite a bit of leg in the process. James was left speechless by Maria's show of stockings and thong. He fought the urge to stop them from going out, but held back, not wanting to create a scene or embarrass Maria. Instead, James walked over to Tyler's side and bluntly stated, "Don't turn this dinner into something you'll regret." Slightly surprised, Tyler met James's gaze and reassured him, "We're just having dinner and discussing our project. Nothing is going to happen, and nothing will get out of control." "We'll see," James replied cynically. Tyler shrugged off James's attitude, opened the car door, and got into the driver's seat. James stood in the driveway, watching them drive away before going inside to focus on work. He hoped to distract himself from the thought of Maria being out with Tyler, but it didn't work. He couldn't stop replaying Maria's bold display in his mind or worrying about what she might be doing with Tyler. The evening dragged on, leaving him in agonizing anticipation for their return. By 1 p.m. James was growing restless. He had hoped Maria would have been back by now, but she wasn't. As the clock ticked past 10:30 p.m., with no sign of her, James's worry mixed with frustration. Anger soon overshadowed his concern, but rather than reach out to her, he chose not to call or text, opting to wait until the evening played out however it might end. When 11 p.m. rolled around and Maria still hadn't returned, James felt the strain. Mentally exhausted by the anxiety Maria's absence caused, he lay down, tossing and turning for nearly an hour before finally settling into sleep near midnight. A few hours later, the sound of a car's headlights illuminated the bedroom window, waking James. Maria had finally come back. He sat up and asked his assistant, "Alexa, what time is it?" "The time is 2:21 a.m., Alexa replied. "Damn it," James muttered loudly. He remained in bed, listening to Maria and Tyler's muffled voices from the driveway below the window. He heard the front door open and close, followed by the sound of Tyler's car pulling away, fading into the early morning. Tyler had dropped her off and left without offering any explanation to James about why they were so late. Now Maria would have to face James's wrath on her own. So much for Tyler being a gentleman, James thought as he heard the distant hum of Tyler's car fading away. Moments later, Maria began creeping up the stairs, trying to be as quiet as possible. She slipped into the bedroom, her presence barely noticeable. In a low, serious voice, James spoke. "Maria?" "Startled," Maria replied in a worried tone. "Oh, James, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to wake you. Apologies for the late hour." "What time is it?" James asked softly. "It's late. Go back to sleep." "I'll join you in just a minute," Maria replied with a gulp as she turned toward the bathroom. "Alexa, what time is it?" James then asked the Amazon Alexa device. "It's 2:27 a.m., Alexa responded. James heard Maria exclaim, "Oh my God!" A few minutes later, she climbed into bed, snuggling closely to him. James again asked the smart speaker for the time, to which Alexa responded, "It's 2:34 a.m. The room grew eerily silent until Maria's soft sobbing interrupted the stillness. "James, I'm so sorry. We were talking, and time just slipped away. We didn't mean for it to get this late. Please don't be upset. Please don't be angry with Tyler or me. It wasn't intentional," she pleaded, her voice trembling with guilt. James, still deep in thought, turned away, advising her to sleep as they could discuss everything in the morning. He couldn't help but wonder if Maria was being truthful. What could they have been talking about that kept them out until the early hours of Saturday morning? Something about the situation felt off to him, and he couldn't shake the feeling. Once James lay in bed beside his wife, a realization dawned on him. The faint scent of cologne hit his senses. It was unmistakable Armani's Acqua di Dio, the same fragrance used by one of his co-workers. He remembered smelling it when Tyler had come to pick up Maria. Now that scent clung to the bed sheets, strong and undeniable. James knew this fragrance hadn't simply transferred from sitting across a dinner table. No, this was a result of physical contact. Maria wasn't telling the whole truth. She and Tyler had clearly been together in more than just conversation. As James drifted back to sleep, he accepted what had likely happened. At sunrise, he woke up, confirming that the scent of Acqua di Dio still lingered on Maria's skin as she lay peacefully asleep, exhausted from her night with Tyler. There was no doubt in his mind now. Armed with this realization, James dressed and left the house, driving aimlessly without a particular destination in mind. After about an hour, he found himself at a Waffle House, ordering breakfast. As he ate his meal, pieces of the puzzle clicked together. The woman he believed to be his devoted wife had betrayed him. It wasn't just an accident. Maria had made a deliberate choice to deceive him in favor of a fling with Tyler. The thought left him feeling angry and humiliated. Having processed everything, James decided he needed to confront her. After paying for his breakfast, he headed home. When he arrived, he found Maria sitting at the kitchen table, her head bowed, nursing a cup of coffee. She looked a mess. James poured himself some coffee and sat down across from her. Neither spoke for several minutes, the silence between them heavy. Maria couldn't even meet his gaze, her eyes fixed on the coffee in front of her. Finally, James broke the silence. "Maria, do you want to talk about it?" he asked. Sniffling, Maria hesitantly apologized, her voice barely above a whisper. "It just spiraled out of control. I'm so sorry." James leaned in. "What do you mean, it got out of control? What happened?" "Well, after dinner, we went to a small cafe for coffee. We started talking about climate change, sustainability, and the work Tyler's been doing with the government and other cities. We got caught up in the conversation, and before we knew it, it was already 1:30. We panicked. And he rushed to get me home. I'm so sorry," Maria explained, her voice wavering. James paused before asking, "Do you like Acqua di Gio?" Maria furrowed her brow, confused by the question. "What do you mean?" "Acqua di Gio, the men's cologne," she asked. "Yes, Acqua di Gio by Armani." "Do you like it?" he pressed, watching her carefully. Maria's confusion deepened as she tried to understand the connection between the cologne and her coming home late. "Why are you asking me this?" she finally questioned. "One of my colleagues at work uses Acqua di Gio. I've known that scent for years. I smelled it when Tyler came to pick you up last night," James stated flatly. Maria's mind raced, and suddenly the pieces fell into place. She remembered seeing a bottle of Acqua di Gio in Tyler's bathroom. She also recalled how Tyler had reapplied the cologne after using the bathroom, leaving the scent on his hands that had been on her. Naturally, Gio was now fixated on Maria, who remained silent, bracing herself for the inevitable. She knew exactly what was coming. Last night when you climbed into bed, the strong odor of Acqua di Gio was noticeable. I thought about it briefly, but lying next to you, I realized that such a potent smell couldn't have come from merely shaking hands. So this morning, while you were still asleep after your night out, I smelled you again and confirmed that the scent of Acqua di Gio was all over your body." "No, no, no," Maria shrieked defensively. "Maria," he continued, "that smell didn't just get on you by sitting across from someone at dinner or talking about climate change at a cafe. You two were clearly close." Maria panicked. "James, please, try to understand. After dinner, everything spiraled out of control." "What went haywire?" James asked calmly. "Tyler and we lost control. It wasn't planned, it just happened," Maria sobbed. "You and Tyler lost control." "What does that mean?" James asked, still composed. Maria squirmed in her chair, looking for a way out of the conversation that held her in place as James ensured she didn't move. "All right, I won't lie. We made love." "I've said it. It just happened, and I'm really sorry, but things just got out of hand," Maria sniffled. James paused and spoke slowly. "No, Maria, things didn't just get out of control, everything went exactly the way you intended." Maria turned toward James and asked, "What do you mean, as I intended?" "I mean, you agreed to go out with him, and on a Friday night no less. You spent the entire day preparing for him, dressing as attractively as you could." No, James, never," Maria protested. "Maria, you left this house fully intending to sleep with Tyler," James insisted. No, that's not true," Maria cried. "It is, Maria, and you've completely ruined our marriage and relationship," James stated bluntly. "No, James, I haven't ruined our marriage like you say. Yes, I did something awful, but I got swept up in the excitement of being with Tyler, and I lost myself for that moment. It was a terrible decision, and it will never happen again. But we can get past this if you just stop accusing me," Maria begged. "You lost yourself for a moment. How about over 8 hours?" James countered. "That's not true," Maria wailed. "Yes, it is, Maria. You spent the entire evening with him, all the way until the early hours of this morning. That's more than 8 hours, and you spent the entire day getting ready for him. Plus, I know you spent days planning for last night," Maria interrupted. "I told you, I got carried away, and things just spiraled out of control once he gathered his thoughts." James told her, "Maria, I don't believe you. I don't believe that things just got out of control, and I don't believe it just happened. What I do believe is that you planned this." No. You have to believe me," Maria cried. "I don't believe you," Maria, James said calmly. "I think when you left here with Tyler, you knew you were going to sleep with him. That was the whole point of going out with him. The dinner was just an excuse to cover it up." Slowly shaking her head in disbelief, Maria couldn't accept that James thought these things about her. She wanted to escape his accusations, so she changed the subject, pleading, "James, I love you. I love you more than anything in the world. I know you love me too. We've had a good marriage. We can work through this and move forward." James remained silent for a few moments before turning to her and saying, "No, I can't move past this." What you did is too serious to just let go. Don't you see how you betrayed me? Last night you lied to me, deceived me, and humiliated me. I didn't do that. I would never do those things to you, Maria screamed. God damn it, woman, you did. You went on a date right in front of me. You left me behind so you could sleep with another man, and you even lied to make it happen. Maria, you're a real piece of work, James fumed. Now crying uncontrollably, Maria shouted, I never left you. I would never leave you. I just made a horrible mistake, Maria. Listen, James said sternly. When you got your hair and nails done just for him, you left me. When you prepared yourself all day for him, you left me. When you dressed up for him, you left me. When you let him touch you, you left me. And when you got into his bed, you left me. You betrayed me. Hearing those brutal words, Maria's head spun, and all she could muster was, but I came back to you. I'm here with you now. I'm not with him, I'm here with you, I returned, Maria said, hoping to convince James. You came back to me after spending the whole evening letting another man have you, James replied coldly. At that moment, Maria realized there was no escaping this situation. What am I supposed to do, James, she asked, throwing her arms wide in frustration. Tell me what I can do to make things right. You can spend this weekend finding yourself a divorce lawyer, James retorted, because you're going to need one once I meet with mine next week. Divorce? Why would you want a divorce? Maria cried. Because you no longer belong to me, James said sternly. You gave yourself to another man. No, that's not true. I am yours, and only yours. I made one stupid mistake, but it won't ever happen again. It was a one-time, reckless decision, but you did it, Maria. You gave yourself to him, and now part of you is his. James shot back. But I came back to you, Maria protested. I belong to you, no one else. Yeah, you returned to me at nearly 2:30 in the morning after giving yourself to him, after dressing up and letting him have you however he pleased. James responded harshly. It wasn't like that, Maria tried to explain. Maria, you prepared yourself for him, offered yourself to him, and he took you. Don't you get it? A piece of you now belongs to him, and it always will, James said, unrelenting. I made a mistake. I didn't even realize what I was doing. My emotions, my hormones, they took control, and I made a horrible choice, Maria pleaded. I'm not interested in hearing your excuses, James snapped back arrogantly. Please, James, it only happened once. It was just one time, Maria begged, her voice trembling. I don't care if it was just one time, James shouted. James, please don't do this to us. For the love of God, don't do this to us, Maria cried. I'm not the one doing this to us, you did this to us. This is your doing, James said firmly. He paused for a moment before continuing. The legal process of the divorce will take time, but make no mistake, it's over. As far as I'm concerned, our marriage is finished. Don't say that, James, Maria sobbed. I know we can work this out. There's nothing to work out, James said coldly. We're done. Finished? No. We can't be done, Maria pleaded. I made a huge mistake, a stupid, impulsive choice, but we can get through this if you just forgive me and let me make it up to you, Maria. There's no forgiving, and there's no making it up. We're over. I'm done talking, James said, as he stood up from the table and walked away, leaving her behind. Maria sat there, elbows on the table, staring down at her cup of coffee. Her once perfect life had crumbled in such a short time, and it was all her fault. She had no one else to blame. She had ruined everything for the sake of a brief fling with Tyler Carter. Yes, that old story, Tyler Carter, who was unlike anyone else. Polished, self-assured, impeccable in his manners, cultured, well-educated, and athletic. Maria Spencer Taylor had fallen hard for him. Enamored with Tyler, she let herself get lost in fantasies about the two of them together, especially in bed. The rumors she had heard all her life about men like Tyler, about their enhanced physicality heightening the experience for a woman, fueled her fantasies even more. Eventually, it got to the point where, almost every night before she drifted off to sleep, Maria would lie in bed imagining herself making love to Tyler. Each morning, she'd wake up with the same thoughts. Day after day, working alongside him on the climate change project, she struggled to focus, her mind constantly drifting to thoughts of being with Tyler. Over time, these thoughts consumed her, until finally, Maria reached a breaking point. She felt as if her mind, body, and soul would explode if she didn't sleep with Tyler. It was at that moment that her primal instincts overtook her rational thinking, and she started planning how to make her fantasy a reality. She wasn't thinking of it as an affair, not something long-term or even short-term. All she wanted was one night with Tyler, just once, to get it out of her system, and then she would be satisfied forever. Because it was just one time and not an ongoing affair, she convinced herself that it didn't really matter that she was married. She didn't care that she had made vows to James, promises to be faithful, to forsake all others. In Maria's mind, she wasn't cheating. That morning, she didn't see it that way at all. She wasn't betraying James, she was pursuing love, and Tyler Carter was the prize, the epitome of masculinity that she sought for just one experience, an encounter she could relish in her memories forever. She was sure it was possible. She felt confident that Tyler liked her and that he would be open to it if the opportunity presented itself. All she needed to do was give him the chance. After much thought, Maria found the opportunity in a business dinner, a professional meeting disguised as something else. She was convinced that Tyler would go along with it, especially since they had discussed having dinner before. She vividly recalled that Tyler had mentioned how, with their workload, lunch was impossible to coordinate, so a dinner meeting made sense. She knew how to signal to him that this was his moment. By looking and dressing as alluring, tantalizing and seductive as she could, Maria believed she would send him the message that she was ready and available for him, waiting for him to take her, if he chose to pick up the signal she was giving him. After an early dinner, they would retreat to the hotel and spend the next few hours in each other's arms, making love, with her returning home around 10. It was only now that she realized James might pose an issue. He was prone to jealousy, always suspicious. She had arranged this business dinner while James was in town, planning it right under his nose. In fact, she intended to get his approval, ensuring he knew about the dinner but not about what would happen afterward in Taylor's hotel room. It was a clever and deceptive plan to ease James's suspicions, and it almost worked perfectly. Naturally, Tyler was invited to the dinner with Maria, and though James was skeptical, he didn't protest enough to stop her. Reluctantly, he agreed, allowing them to dine together. Maria found James's jealousy toward Tyler strangely exciting, adding a mysterious allure to the night. Tyler, sensing her cues even before they left her driveway, was all too eager, and any idea of a formal dinner was soon dismissed. They rushed straight to his hotel, fully taking advantage of the situation, and things quickly spiraled beyond control. Everything unfolded exactly as Maria had imagined. But when Tyler awoke to use the bathroom just after 1 a.m., the night took a sharp turn from fantasy to nightmare. Reality hit them both hard as they realized what they had done. Maria was a wreck, and Tyler just wanted to escape. Still, somehow they stayed together for the moment, and Maria made it home. By Saturday morning, after she and James had confronted each other, Maria grasped the extent of her mistake. James was set on divorce, offering no chance of forgiveness, reconciliation, or a second try. The rest of the weekend was spent with Maria drowning in self-pity, cursing herself for allowing the night with Tyler to spiral out of control. Though the excitement and passion of Friday night occasionally replayed in her mind, it only lasted briefly before the harsh reality pulled her back. She had lost James. James, on the other hand, seethed with anger over Maria's disregard for him and the audacity of going on a date right under his nose. He couldn't believe she thought he was naive enough to believe her flimsy excuse that she and Tyler had simply discussed climate change and sustainability late into the night. By Monday, James had found a lawyer and by the afternoon had met with him, finishing the divorce paperwork by 7 p.m., ready for submission the next day. James was in full speed to separate from Maria. That evening he returned home where Maria, hoping to smooth things over, was waiting to talk. She believed he might have calmed down and that they could work through everything. However, James told her bluntly that he had filed for divorce and that by the end of the week she would receive the papers. He added that he was pursuing an at-fault divorce, citing her affair. When Maria heard this, chaos ensued. James, not wanting to deal with her anymore, called her family and friends to inform them of what happened and asked them to come be with her. Once they arrived, James left and didn't return for hours. The next day, Maria's family and friends spent much of the day talking to James, pleading with him to reconsider, forgive her, and try to save the marriage. But James had made up his mind. By Tuesday evening, it was clear to everyone that their relationship, and thus their marriage, was beyond saving. On Wednesday morning, Tyler Carter reached out to James. To his surprise, James answered. "Hello, James. Tyler Carter here. Thanks for taking my call. What do you want?" Tyler James asked, irritation clear in his voice. "I need to talk to you about Friday night," James, still furious, responded sharply. "What's there to discuss? You took my wife out under the guise of dinner, brought her to a hotel, spent the night with her, and sent her back to me smelling like you. And you think I'm just jealous?" Tyler, attempting to explain, said things had spiraled out of control and that was why he was calling. James, still fuming, replied, "Fine, I'm listening," but Tyler insisted, "We need to discuss this in person, not over the phone." James, shocked, asked, "You want to meet face-to-face?" Tyler confirmed, "Yes, the sooner, the better." James could hardly believe it. Tyler wanted to meet in person after all that had happened. "Isn't that strange?" James asked, baffled, "To meet the man who was with my wife." Tyler remained quiet for a few seconds before he spoke again. "Yeah, probably, but this is something I need to do, and you need to hear me out." James followed this with a question, "Aren't you at all worried that I might kill you or beat you senseless?" Tyler paused to think before responding, "Well, I figure I deserve whatever you might do to me, but I'll take my chances and hope we can stay civil." James thought the situation was crazy, but he decided to go along with it and said, "Okay, this afternoon at 3, does that work for you?" Tyler agreed, and soon enough they found themselves sitting outside at a Starbucks. Tyler didn't waste any time, diving straight into the conversation. "James, I talked to Maria yesterday, and she's really upset. She says you're planning to divorce her. Is that true, or are you even thinking about it?" James responded calmly, "No, I'm not considering divorcing her. I'm already divorcing her. In fact, my lawyer filed the paperwork yesterday." Tyler exclaimed in a desperate tone, "No, no, no, you can't do that. You just can't." Confused, James asked, "What do you mean I can't do that?" Tyler responded, "Because it's wrong, completely wrong. Maria is a good woman, and she doesn't deserve to be thrown out over one bad decision." James smirked at Tyler's words. "Yeah, she's a good woman. All right, a good woman who lied, manipulated, and deceived me just so she could." Tyler interrupted quickly, "Don't say it. It was a mistake on both our parts." But James was resolute. "I'm going to say it, my wife. That good woman used me so she could be with you." Tyler interjected, "Man, I told you, it was poor judgment." "A lapse that wrecked your marriage?" James, not missing a beat, asked. "This might be a dumb question, but I have to ask, are you and Maria in love?" He posed the question with heavy sarcasm. "No, man, we're not in love," Tyler replied. "I like Maria, and she likes me. But that's it. She loves you, not me, and that's what I wanted to tell you face to face. You need to understand we got carried away, but it's over now, and it'll never happen again." Tyler then added with genuine remorse, "James, I'm really sorry for what we did, and I wish I could undo Friday night, but I can't." James, staring into Tyler's eyes, said bitterly, "No, you can't undo it, and she can't erase the memory of loving you either. That's the problem. Part of her will always be yours, and she'll never fully belong to me again. You'll always live in her mind, and I can't handle living like that." As James described the lasting damage of an affair with another man's wife, Tyler felt nauseous. He hadn't fully grasped the implications of what he had done until now. Before he could respond, James took a deep breath and continued, "And there's more. She can't undo everything she did to me just to be with you. That's why I'm divorcing her." Suddenly, Tyler blurted out, "Damn it!" His outburst caught the attention of everyone at Starbucks, and the table fell silent. Tyler, sensing the tension, asked nervously, "So now what's your plan for me?" James, clearly angry, leaned across the table and said, "Look at me." When Tyler raised his eyes, James continued, "Tyler, if I were the man I used to be, I'd pull out my .45 and blow your head off." Tyler visibly flinched, but James added, "But I'm not that man anymore, so I'll handle this more civilly." "What does that mean?" Tyler asked, his voice shaking. James didn't pause before answering, "This state doesn't have an alienation of affection law, so I can't sue you as part of the divorce. You're safe in that regard." However, James trailed off, thinking to himself. He then added, "But the law firm I'm working with is very conservative, and they see you as the guy who broke up my marriage. They might see this as a chance to take some political shots at the climate change movement at your expense." Tyler's face paled. He had feared James might physically harm him, but he hadn't anticipated this. James could see Tyler panic as the reality sank in. Tyler pleaded, "James, please don't do this to me." James responded calmly, "I've given them free rein to smear you. By the end of this week, Maria will be officially served, and once she signs the divorce papers, the story will hit the media and social networks. You can guess what happens next." Tyler, desperate, cried, "You can't do this. It's illegal. I'll sue you for defamation." James replied coldly, "No, it's not illegal to expose the truth as long as they don't lie. The truth is that you had an affair with a married woman and ruined her marriage. That's the story they'll tell, and the court of public opinion will take it from there." The conservative media and political circles will have a field day with you." Tyler was left in shock, imagining the fallout if the media discovered his affair. He could barely speak as he whispered, "You'll destroy me. You'll ruin my reputation and everything I've worked for." Tyler remarked that it might seem a bit extreme. He didn't think it would ruin you, but your reputation would certainly suffer. Conservatives would use you and Maria as examples to strike against the climate change movement. James responded, "Don't you see this will also destroy Maria?" Tyler nodded and asked, "And you don't care, why should I?" James retorted. "When you two were fooling around in that hotel room, did you consider me?" Tyler stayed silent. "Well, did you?" James pressed. "It wasn't about you, it was about us," Tyler admitted. James continued, "And you didn't think I'd find out, but I did. And you messed up." This ignited James' anger again. He shouted, "I found out, damn it." Both of you nearly raising his voice but holding back since they were in a public setting. James then asked Tyler, "Do you remember what I said before you left with Maria?" Tyler shrugged. "No, not really." "What did you say?" "I warned you not to do something you'd regret." Tyler nodded. "Yes, you did. I should have listened." "Yeah, you should have," James shot back. "James, please just take a moment and reconsider," Tyler pleaded. "I've thought it through. There's nothing more to discuss," James stated firmly. Tyler knew he was serious, but made one last plea. "James, please, don't divorce Maria." "Move on, man. Forget it." James laughed bitterly. "Don't throw away a good woman just because I made a bad call." But James remained firm. "It's over." Later, at Starbucks, James returned to gather supplies for his trip to Nagarhole National Park in India. When he got home that night, he found Maria in another emotional outburst. This time, she had spoken to Tyler, who told her about James' plans with his lawyer to publicly ruin him. "James," Tyler called and said, "your lawyers are going to destroy him." "Is it true?" she cried. James, with little concern, replied, "Maybe." Maria, exasperated, yelled, "Why are you doing this?" James, clearly disgusted, fired back, "Why did you betray me? Why did you lie, manipulate, and cheat on me? Why, Maria? Why give yourself to another man?" Maria, sobbing, could only say, "I don't know, James." "I really don't know." "Something took over you," James mocked. "I don't believe you, Maria. I think you're lying," she insisted. "I'm not lying." "Something clouded my judgment." "Look at me," James demanded, and Maria raised her tearful eyes to meet his. "In a couple of days, you'll be served with divorce papers." "No, James, please," she begged. "Don't do this to us. We can fix this," James coldly responded. "When those papers arrive, just sign them. Let's end this. Don't fight me." Desperately, Maria pleaded again. "Please don't do this." James, without any sympathy, replied, "You did this, Maria. Remember? You said it was just dinner, but it wasn't just dinner, was it? No, it was an affair, and you got caught. You ruined us." Maria, guilt-ridden, admitted, "I've been such a fool." "Yes, you have," James confirmed in a flat tone. "You gave part of yourself to someone else, and now you're no longer mine. Since you're not fully mine anymore, I don't want to be with you. So sign the papers and get out of my life." His words hit her hard, and James, now shouting, stormed upstairs. He grabbed some bags, came back down to pack his camera gear, and left the house for a hotel, where he planned to stay until his trip to India. Months later, Maria finally signed the divorce papers, legally ending their marriage. James' lawyers, alongside a political action group, launched a campaign against Tyler that not only damaged his reputation, but also impacted the broader climate change initiative. Tyler was ostracized from the movement, losing significant consulting work as his public image crumbled. The political left also falsely labeled him a sexual predator, further tarnishing his name. The divorce settlement left Maria with enough money to support herself, but not comfortably, and she spiraled into anxiety and depression, making little progress in moving forward. After completing his assignment in India, James returned home, finalized the divorce, and headed to Africa, where he resumed his work as a professional hunter and photographer. He led expeditions to track the big five elephants, rhinos, buffalo, lions, and leopards. Though Maria sent him countless emails, begging for another chance, James, while occasionally responding, showed no intention of rekindling their relationship. Maria, still struggling, saved what little money she had, hoping one day to follow him to Africa.